Anywho, my next topic is bad doctors. I know we go to the medical professionals for help, and this is primary fertility issue bad doctors. Okay, and I got my list, so this should not be all over the place. I had a doctor tell me pretty much I wouldn't get pregnant. I mean, she was not optimistic. She was a little evil about it, if you ask me. She was straight looking at the test and looking at my age and saying, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to do IVF. And I'm sitting there like, my pockets can't afford IVF. And can you be a little more optimistic? And I didn't have the voice to argue back with her because I thought she was like all knowing, and she was not. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. Not every doctor is a good doctor, and I've learned this in several situations, not just fertility. Somebody told me that doctors practice medicine. Practice. They don't know everything, and medicine doesn't solve everything. So you really need to take that thought process when dealing with doctors. Some doctors have their own agenda. Like in the fertility situation, which is what I'm referring to, some of these people are just out for the cash. They're not, or their statistical numbers of getting people pregnant in live births, because that rotates in the cash. So you really have to think about which ones are there for your best benefit and which are not. Some doctors believe their own hype, and I feel this is like, okay, especially in fertility, but even in other things, like when they don't really want you to get a second opinion, or they think everything they say is right. In the fertility doctor situation, like everybody has their own protocol. So let's take 3 different doctors, A, B, C. One doctor might say, do it a way, do it this way. Another doctor might say, do it another way. So it's like, okay, so A, B, and C have 3 different protocols, 3 different kind of drugs they'll give, and 3 different kind of concoctions of the drugs, 3 different ways they might test for IUI. Like one might do a blood test, one might do a ultrasound, another might just bank on the what's the ovulation kit. So you always have to think they all have their different protocols, what they think would work. And there's definitely a few fertility clinics that are known for like high success rates with like I guess problem children in the fertility market. There's a couple that like I ran across them, and people are like flying to these places from all over the country just to go there because they've had issues with fertility. And I don't know what their protocol is, but clearly they have a good one. If I believe what the doctor said, I wouldn't have my daughter, and that's a real fact. Like, even though the way I went about it was unorthodox, if I sat there and believed the negativity in what she was saying, I wouldn't have her. I mean, I'm not saying that this guarantees you a baby, but you have to have some level of faith. And the reason I say that is because I went through 2 IUIs, 2 tears, a long depression, and I walked out of that woman's office with faith that I was going to have a baby, that God had my back, that it was going to work out. And as you see, I have my baby. And if you want the story of how that happened, you can go back in my videos. But you have to have some level of faith. And in my situation, because mine had a big monetary issue, I went to the doctor I could afford. She was the cheapest. The program I went to was the cheapest in town. And we all know I left there with debt, debt I'm working on paying, but that's another story. So I did go within what I could afford. To be honest, I really was going to do some home IUIs, but the state of Georgia, Georgia, you could not send sperm to your house. You had to do IUIs medically, or it was against the law, some crap. I should have really realized I was in the wrong place. She was negative. She had no bedside manner. But I was just so desperate, and I couldn't afford anything else. So really go with your gut. If you are not feeling comfortable, this is not where you need to be. Also, be your own best advocate and be educated on the subject, such as acupuncture, when they do acupuncture, vitamins you can take, like supposedly DHEA and CoQ10 helps with egg quality, or also, like, if you did a couple IUIs and you're medicated and you're like, well, how do I be more aggressive? Or maybe you did a couple with Clomid and you can say, well, Clomid, hasn't got me a baby. Can we try letrozole, which is another fertility drug on the market that's like Clomid, but it has less side effects. Like, be your own advocate, especially since I'm sure nobody, well, not nobody, some people have endless supplies of money, but most people do not have endless supplies of money. So I would try standing on your head. If anything you can try and be your own advocate and discuss, other protocols with the doctor and see what they say, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying look up, read medical journals if you have to. Get on the message boards. These women talk about fertility all the time. Get on the message boards and figure out something that might help you. I was willing to do anything within my affordability. I feel that if you want to be a mom, do whatever you need to do to be a mom. That even if it's adoption. I had a friend and she drained her 401k and she is in love with this little boy and she's had him since he was 6 days old and she cannot see a life without him. And the funny thing is, when she drained that 401k, I think within 6 weeks, that's when the 401ks went under and they weren't worth shit. So she didn't lose anything. And you know what? She depended on God. And God got her that baby. And, she's in love with her baby boy. And I'm in love with my daughter. And both situations was built on faith. You have to have some level of faith and to be your own advocate and ask as many questions as you need to ask. Do not be afraid. Okay, bye. Like, subscribe, and holla back.